Talking Number is a maths resource which was designed specifically for remote and Indigenous communities, but will work quite well in mainstream communities. The driving idea behind it was that it would provide a way from quickly going to where the children were at to classroom activities that were targeted to move them to the next step. Talking Number consists of three main elements. The first and most important is a progress map, which allows you to track students and also allows you to identify the different stages they are at in their learning journey. The second element is a video element. A number of the activities have got a video component in 3 languages, allowing both teachers and assistant teachers to have a look and get a feel for how the activity needs to be run. The third element is a series of activities. These activities are fully described, and the resource includes everything you need to run them, including blackline masters for any materials. Let's have a look how it works. Central to everything is the progress map. So we might have a bit of a closer look at the progress map just to see how it's put together. If we go down to the numbers and number systems section, and we'll first of all have a look at the whole number part of the progress map. This is really the foundational part. The whole number part is broken up into these 5 substrands. There's subitizing part whole, matches numerals to collections, counting, reading, comparing, ordering and locating, and part whole place value partitioning. These understandings are interrelated and together form a complete picture of what number is and how it works. The first thing to do is to identify where our students sit on this progress map. Now, you might have some test materials, you might have some centre results, for example, from the Count Me in 2 program. You can use these to help locate students, or you can just use your observation. Let's have a look at these descriptors now. We'll have a look at the part whole place value partitioning strand. Now this first descriptor is shared with the reading, comparing, ordering and locating strand, and it's just an understanding that collections can be different sizes to one another. The next understanding across is that students are able to recognise numbers to 5 in terms of their place value parts. That means for each number in the range to 5, they are able to say how that can be broken up into whole number parts. For example, that 3 can be broken up into 2 and 1, that 4 can be broken up into 3 and 1 or 2 and 2, that 5 can be broken up into 4 and 1 and 3 and 2 and so forth. The next understanding is it's basically the same, except it's now for numbers in the range to 10. Once students have these understandings, we start moving into the place value part, recognising teen numbers in terms of their 10 structure, so that, for example, they recognise 13 as being 1, 10 and 3. After that, place value understanding for 2-digit numbers, understanding that the rightmost digit represents how many 1s and the next one along represents how many 10s. Obviously this is a very important understanding in terms of children being able to add and subtract and do all sorts of number calculations, understand the magnitude of numbers. This is a particularly important strand, and it's one that students, particularly students from other cultures, may find a great deal of difficulty with unless it's taken through quite slowly and you make sure that there is understanding at each step. So let's just imagine we have a cohort of students and they can all recognise numbers in the range to 5 in terms of their parts, but not yet recognise all numbers in the range to 10 in terms of their parts. So our cohort is here in terms of their understanding. They've mastered this point, so we click here. Now, a quick check. Where are our students now? They recognise numbers to 5 in terms of their parts. Good. And we want to move them now so that they can recognise numbers to 10 in terms of their parts. This is an important distinction. The activities we find in this section are not activities around consolidating this. We're assuming that this is known and we want to extend the children now to this. So the activities in this part, even though we've clicked on step 2, it's where the children are now, the activities will move them on to step 3. So all the activities we see here will be all organised around understanding numbers to 10 in terms of their parts. We'll have a look down this page, so the purpose, why it's important, and the resources. Physical modelling is particularly important at this stage. So we'll see a number of activities here: part, whole board, 10 frames, a game called Target, flashcards, and memory to 10 game. Let's have a look at this activity, memory to 10 game. We can see that everything we need to do this activity is provided here. Memory to 10 game notes. If we clicked there, we would find a printable PDF page explaining how this activity is carried out. Now, the black line masters are there for the number cards if you don't already have them, and dot cards if you'd rather use dot cards for this activity. So in terms of scaffolding, we could maybe start off using dot cards and then progress on to using numeral cards. Finally, there are videos of assistant teachers demonstrating these activities in 3 languages at the moment. We've got English, Jamborpingo, and Creole. These videos are particularly useful if you want to engage your assistant teacher in running these activities with small groups. For example, we'll just have a look at the English one.
Addition strategies, 10 frames memory. Oh, that's yours. If children are to quickly know what to add to any number to make 10, they need to spend lots of time practicing without becoming bored or losing interest. This activity lets children practice making 10 while playing an interesting 10-frame based game.
So you see, the first part of the video is an explanation of what the activity is and why it's important. The second part of the video, if we move along, is a full activity being demonstrated. So it's fairly easy then for both teachers and assistant teachers to get a feel for how the game is played and hopefully have the confidence to run it themselves. Let's just go back now. Going back to the progress map, you'll see that the ideas within each step are fairly closely related and interrelated. The idea is that you would visit activities from each of these big ideas within a single step to help the student develop a holistic understanding of number to that level before then moving on to the next step. Once the students have mastered the ideas at a particular level, it's then possible to also go back to our resources and to perhaps the operations page. So if they have conquered whole number at step 3, then perhaps we could put some of this knowledge to use in doing some addition, subtraction, or multiplication, division activities. I'd just like to reiterate, however, that the most fundamental understandings are these whole number 5 big ideas, and that if children are having trouble with doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, if they're having trouble working on concepts, it is often because there are holes or misunderstandings that have occurred back here, and it's often very useful to go back and revisit some of these ideas to make sure those misunderstandings are addressed. So, as you can see, that resource was designed so that you can very quickly go from where the children are to classroom activities to help them move along.